Welcome to a very special movie, Madhouse. Our buddy from down under, Gough, is back. How you doing?
I'm very well, Rob, and your good self.
Oh, just living the dream up here.
Well, you're in summertime, so good times can be had.
That's right. Oh yeah, you guys are starting to crest into winter now, aren't you?
Yeah, but where I live, it never gets cold where I'm at. I'm like in the Florida of Australia, so I'm sweet as. So it's actually a really beautiful day. It's super sunny and kind of warm, man. It's like 24 degrees and it's the middle of winter, so good for us.
Yeah, you cannot complain there. Dang. So it's always like summerish weather.
Yeah, pretty much, man. Yeah, when it can get brutal during your January, February, it gets pretty brutal. But it as in hot brutal. But wintertime is actually really beautiful. It's the best time of the year, I reckon, is wintertime.
Oh, excellent. See, that's got to be perfect for a filmmaker then, because you don't have to worry about snow.
Well, no, but tropical rain. Every time I film, I swear to God, man, every time I film, we get like flooding monsoonal rain. It's like if there's a drought, if like there's a country out there that is currently suffering through a horrendous drought, just get me to film something and you'll have floods immediately. I always get rain, man. It's mind blowing. And it's even funnier because the Gold Coast where I live, their big like tourist promotion is we have 300 days of sunshine a year, which is true. But I always get the rain. It just like literally, if you watch, some of my previous films, Book Club, we had floods and there was one crew member who couldn't get there. When we did the education system, there were floods and there was a couple of cast members who struggled to drive around the floodwaters. I mean, like it happens like all the time.
So is that why this latest project is all indoors?
Well, no, we got that's just a happy side effect more than anything else. Yeah, so it wasn't done on purpose, but on that particular day, it was overcast. I think there was like a brief sprinkle of rain at some point during the afternoon, but no, yes, it's pretty much all inside, isn't it? Of course. So yeah, it was a smart move on my part. I'll put it that way then. Yes.
Well, now that we're into it, Mr. Eligible, this is your latest film, and it's the longest one so far.
That's right, man. Yeah, it's 42 minutes of hilarity. So, well, hopefully hilarity. But yeah, it's Mr. Eligible, and essentially what I thought would be a fun thing to do is to make fun of reality TV shows, in particular dating shows, because they are atrocious and need to be mocked. So I've done my sort of version of The Bachelor, and I've called it Mr. Eligible. So, that's essentially the premise.
And I think I understand why it's so long, just from the one segment in there where you go to Bridget and ask her about one of her flaws.
Well, she has a few. There's no doubt about it. Yeah. She does have a couple.
I edited that out. It was 34 seconds. That's what was left.
Yeah, no, she's got a few problems, says Bridget, but she's not the only one. There's 16 ladies who have varying different states of nutbag type behavior.
Yes. I love the fact that you played off your vision, because you have a person in there who is deaf and only communicates by sign language.
That's correct. Well, again, so my experience would be that people in Australia, I'm talking, I can't speak for, well, when I was in Canada and America, because I lived over there for a little while, as you know, there's a lot more understanding and a lot more education and a lot more just general, what can I say, good vibes towards people with disabilities than there is in Australia. So the Australian executives would be that ignorant that they would just assume that all disabilities are the same, and they would lump a deaf person in with a blind person and expect them to communicate in a happy and healthy way.
Oh man, that was brilliant. Now, some of the gags you pull in here are crazy. How did some of these ideas come up for some of these gags?
Well, it's more just like I say, I wanted to mock the format. So once I came up with my 16 ladies that I wanted to have in there, it was just different ways that I can make them, like, they all needed to be different. So that was obviously a very key part of it. I mean, so they're all. I actually had a very nice compliment paid. What a person who viewed the film said, they're all really attractive young women, but they're all very diverse and very different. There's no two people are the same, which is good. That's what I was aiming for. So I wanted a diverse group of ladies, both in looks and also personality, which goes to the writing, because obviously I tell them what to say through my writing. Yeah, so it was more just once I had their personalities down on paper, it was just making them as outrageous as I possibly could, and that sparks the jokes. It was one of the few films where I just kept writing because there's just so much content that you can do with something like this. It's a lot of fun.
I gotta admit, I got like over halfway through it, and I'm thinking this could go on. This could be almost a feature with the amount that you could play off of.
Well, when I was writing it, I kind of had to stop myself because I was like, this is getting to the point where I'm not going to be able to film this in the time frame that I've got to film it. So I actually physically have to stop because there are so many jokes that you can make with just how outrageous the people on those shows act. Like, I can give you an example. One of the makeup artists, Julie, that worked on this particular project, has done some work on reality television here in Australia. And she said to me, like, some of the people are as outrageous and insane as what they portray on TV. Like, some of them, yes, there is a lot of interference by producers, and the editors get stuck into it and all that sort of stuff. But
Mhm.
she's like, sometimes they don't have to do much because the people are that outrageous. So she's like, it wasn't that far from the truth. My film. So she actually really enjoyed it on that level.
Well, and that all goes to casting. When those reality shows cast, they look for those oddball audition tapes. So
Yeah.
that actually brings me to a question on your casting, because I think I heard quite a few American accents in that cast.
Well, there was one. So the woman who played Megan, she's from Colorado originally, but yeah, she was the only American. Everybody else was Australian, as far as I'm aware. So yeah, but she was the only American. So I do get asked a lot because obviously we get a lot of American projects made here on the Gold Coast because we've got a massive soundstage film studio not far from where I live. So, like, I mean, Thor, Pirates of the Caribbean. Oh man, so many. What have they recently done out here? Oh, it slipped my mind. There's a Netflix series that got shut down a second ago with Annette Bening and Sam Neill that's filming. But
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
we have a lot of Hollywood productions. Oh, Elvis got filled out here, obviously. So that was another big
Oh,
one. But my point being is that a lot of the actors say to me, do you want an American accent or can I use my normal voice? So, and I always say normal voice all the time, normal voice, because there's no need for an American accent. I'm always curious as to why, when sometimes Australian films or other films get a distribution deal in North America, they dub it with American voice actors. And I've always thought that was odd because I don't really get why you would want to do that. I mean,
no.
but yeah, because surely acting in your natural voice is going to be better and more effective than, because you don't have to think about an accent, making sure you're getting the accent correct. It would be my thought. So I always think the less that the actors need to think about, the better it is.
No, absolutely. And yeah, there was one other person I thought had an American accent, but and I think you brought it up halfway through, there were a few words that slipped out that did have the Australian slang to it. So maybe they were just in the acting mode and the accent came out accidentally.
Perhaps, but yeah, no. Uh, uh, Aurora is the only one that is American in the film. But yeah, she was terrific. I'd not worked with Aurora before, but she was amazing. The young lady who played Megan, she was super funny. I liked her a lot. She was cool to work with.
How hard was it to cast 16 people to be contestants?
Yeah, that was really hard. That was super hard because there was a lot of actors that I've worked with previously who I wanted to do this, and they were either booked on other things or like one has moved to LA, one has moved to Tokyo to do Tokyo Disney. So there was a lot the one's doing theatre in Melbourne. So I'm like, oh man, I'm going to have to do so many auditions. There was only about 5 actors who I'd worked with previously out of the whole cast, which is rare for me. So, because I always like to work with the same people whenever
Mhm.
possible. So, yeah, I put the audition out to all the agents. And yeah, it was hard. There was some of those roles were really, really tricky. One that I found really hard to cast was Jen, who played the intruder. That character was really tricky. People just weren't sort of getting the jokes for that particular character. So she was hard to cast. But and yeah, there was a few others that were a bit tricky as well. And we actually had 2 days before filming, the actress who was going to play uh, Belinda, who was the alcoholic, she pulled out, and I had to find a new actress. So Katie came in with about 48 hours notice to learn her lines, and I had to do some fast rehearsals with her. And to her credit, she absolutely crushed it. She was hilarious. She was so great. But yeah, so yeah, it was the cast was the toughest part of this, no doubt about it.
Nothing like a little stress on film day, right?
Oh man, I'll tell you what. But again, to Katie's credit, after so I called her the like 2 mornings prior, and by that evening we had a rehearsal, and within that sort of 12-hour period, she'd learned her lines pretty much perfectly in that 12 hours, and then we rehearsed it a couple of times, and she came in for filming, and she was awesome. So yeah, but that's why I always organize things so far in advance, is for reasons like that. So when a fire does pop up, which inevitably it always does, I
Mm-hmm.
have plenty of time to try and put it out and give it all my attention.
Excellent. Well, yeah, because this cast, there was only 3 fellas in this cast.
Yeah. Myself, and then Al, who played the host, who was great, and Simon, who played the producer, who was also very good. So I'd worked with those lads before, so they were cool. I like, and Al was great as the host, nice and dry, which is what I was after. So he crushed it. He was terrific.
Now the set was interesting because it looked like a warehouse almost, but it was set up with the balloons and the tables. And like, where did that idea like? How did you decide this is what our set's going to look like?
Okay, so yeah, so I worked. It's actually a corporate room at a golf club. Funnily enough, so I did my wedding film there. So a guide to a perfect wedding that I did about 18 months ago. I filmed that there because they do weddings. They've got a chapel out the back, and they do weddings, and it's like the reception overlooks the golf course, and it's all very nice. And
That's the
so
same
the guy
place.
who yeah. So a
Oh
guy who
wow.
runs it, I said to him, I need a corporate space, a big empty space. Can I use your room again? He was like, yep, obviously, got to pay. It's location, got to pay, and all that sort of stuff. And I said, okay. I said, the woman that does the wedding dressing for that dressed the set for the wedding film, because when I did the wedding film, my thought was, uh, let's just pretend we're having a wedding, because it's going to be the easiest way to film it is to actually stage a wedding. So I got like a proper wedding lady in that works with the golf club that dresses the room all the time when people have weddings, and got her to do it for me instead of getting a production designer in. So I said, would she be able to do a cocktail party sort of corporate look? And he goes, oh, I can't see why not. So we had a chat to her, and she said, yeah, I can absolutely do that. So I got her in the morning of the shoot, and she dressed the room for me. So yeah, it's the same venue that we did the wedding film, just dressed the room completely different. So yeah.
That is perfect. So, getting into this reality TV parody now, was there anything specific? Like, as soon as you went reality TV, I have to do this. Was there any points that this is going to do it or it's going to die?
Well, I wanted to hit all the cliche stereotype markers. That was super important. Like words like journey had to be mentioned. Phrases like Jen once comes out with "I'm here for the right reasons." So all those sorts of cliche stereotypes all needed to be hit, and it all needed to be hit in a very exaggerated way for it to be funny. So they were all the things that. So there was a lot of rehearsals with the cast to make sure that their delivery was right. So yeah, the script and the actors and all that sort of stuff, that was what was going to make or break this particular project. Because I mean, there wasn't much in the way of props, or there was no stunts, or nothing of that nature was going to be involved in this particular piece. It was all about performance and script, and that's all that really mattered for this one. So yeah, that got to hit those stereotype cliche markers, or it just ain't going to work.
Yeah, because I think you hit them all. I'm a huge Survivor fan. I haven't really
Okay.
gotten into other ones, but you could see some of the same tropes in yours that they have, especially. And I wonder if this increased your, insurance because people kept, bending their ankles. At least one person in particular, and
Yes. Poor Courtney just she just kept twisting her ankle, which was terrible for her. It happened
right.
about 4 times for her. She just kept requiring attention all the time. So again, that's another cliche stereotype with those dating shows is the attention seeking bitch. So we had to have one of them. And actually, to her credit, Courtney that played that particular role, she's like a absolutely super lovely human being, and she absolutely crushed it. It was the first time I'd worked with her, and she was amazing. So I'm looking forward to working with her again. She was super fun.
That's the good thing about bringing in so many extra women for this particular cast is you now know more people.
Yes,
You
yeah. Well,
know,
that is the silver lining. Very true. But of course, the bad, like there's a plus and minus. I just don't like having, because there was 12 new actors involved in this film, and having 12 new people that you'd never worked with before can be tricky if they turn out to be awkward, terrible human beings. But luckily for me, that didn't happen. Everybody was very cooperative and very lovely and did as they were told, and it all came together very nicely. So there was no trouble. Like even the girl that needed replacing, I got Katie in, and Katie absolutely crushed it. So I did. I do spend a lot of time with the actors, making sure that I am getting the right person. I put them through a bit of a. I don't do. I refuse to do tape auditions, for example. I mean, since COVID, uh, tape auditions is pretty much where it's at now. Very rarely nowadays do the old school come into the office, sit down with a script, and read some scenes. Very rarely does that happen nowadays, but I still do that. I still make them do all that, and so I can talk to them, get a feel for the person, make sure they can take direction, and all that sort of stuff to help me make sure that I am getting the right person for the role.
yeah, and that's important. But I also credit the director because if a person doesn't feel comfortable on set, it will make the set a lot more tense, so to speak. So
Oh no,
this
100%, and I'm willing to take all of your credit. So please continue.
that's right. So here comes the praise. No, it does scream to a good director if you can get that kind because I've done independent film and I've done short films and I know the time crunch you're always on when you're filming this kind of stuff. So the fact that you got that kind of quality in that period of time screams that you know what you're doing and you love working with people.
Yeah, well, also, I'm very clear as to what I want. So there are actors out there that don't like working with me because I am very straight up and I say, this is what I'm after. And that's it. Like, I don't like improv. I'm not one of those guys. I've got my script, and I always say to them, if it's not on the page, it's not on the stage. So like you got to stick to the script, and I'll rehearse you, and I'll support you and all that sort of stuff. But you just got to do it my way. This isn't a democracy. This is the Beer Nuts Productions dictatorship. So as
Exactly.
as long as you do it my way, we're all sweet. And look, at the end of the day, I'm always of the opinion Like I know these characters because I invented them. I wrote them. I know how they sound. So I'm going to be really clear. And I am very clear with my direction. I'm not rude or anything of that nature, but I'm very clear with the direction and what I'm after. And some actors actually really like that because they're not confused as to what they need to do. They, I tell them what I'm after, and that's that. And they do it, and I say, "Great job, thank you very much," and we move on to the next shot. So some actors really love that. Again, some don't, but some do. So it's horses for courses, I suppose.
Perfect. Okay, well, I'm going to throw your website up here. It's been across the bottom, beernutsproductions.com. But this is what you're going to see when you log in. So pay attention to this website. What other stuff can people find on this site? They're getting a little preview now from your film, but
Absolutely. So yeah, this is the Mr. Eligible is our 28th film, and you can download all 28 films off the Beer Nuts Productions website. It's the only place you can download them. We've also got 15 audio downloads, which are like 20-minute long audio sketches. It's not a podcast; they're scripted with actors and all that sort of stuff. And then we also have a couple of books. We have a TV series that we've done, and we've also got a podcast, a weekly podcast that we do, the Beer Nuts Productions podcast. So there's films, there's audio, there's a bit of TV, there's a bit of reading material, and of course the podcast for a bit more listening. So yeah, there's tons to keep people wildly entertained for minutes on end.
so basically, if you go to this website and you're not entertained, it's your own fault because there's everything.
Exactly. Yes, 100%. You've only got yourself to blame, and
Exactly.
it's all the same sort of I've got my own sort of style of comedy, and it's all sort of comedy stuff like done in, obviously it's not all the same. You've seen many of my films now, Rob. So I mean, I try and make different genres and all that sort of stuff within the comedy realm. So it's always going to be fun, entertaining stuff, hopefully, that you're going to be watching and listening.
Let's say I'm a first time listener and I'm going, gee, I wonder what I should pay attention to on beernuts.product.com. What would be your three films if you had to say someone, check out these three for a taste of what we do?
Well, Mr. Eligible, I'm very proud of. It's the latest one. So obviously you got to get your download onto Mr. Eligible. I did a film last year called The Kidnapping, which I'm really, really proud of. It was very different sort of thing than what I do, because usually I do sort of mockumentaries and make fun of a specific, whether it be like this time it was reality shows. I mean, I've done mockumentaries about the fitness industry, about the pornography industry and that sort of stuff. But The Kidnapping was different. It's more of a scripted story situation. So that one's quite different, and I really enjoyed making The Kidnapping. It was a lot of fun. And again, it's a comedy piece, but it's very different to what I would usually do. And my most downloaded film has been Book Club, and Book Club is more sketch comedy based. So if you're into sketch comedy, essentially with Book Club, it's five women are sitting around, complaining about their lives and husbands, and it's interrupted with little sketches of their husbands doing stupid things. So again, if you're into sketch comedy, Book Club would be the one, and it's actually, like I say, it's been the highest selling Beer Nuts Productions film. So that was made about 2 years ago. But that's a good thing about what I do. Like, all the films remain up there. So if you are a first time person to beernutsproductions.com, you can go through our whole back catalogue and download whatever you want. There's trailers and all that sort of stuff. So you get a bit of a preview, so you can have a bit of a look.
Perfect. That's a very good mix, by the way. That is a very good mix. I remember Book Club. That was so good. Awesome. Well, Gough, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's always a blast having you here.
No, absolutely, Rob. I always enjoy chatting with you. It's been too long, my friend. So yeah, no, it's great. It's great having a chat. And yeah, beernutsproductions.com. Thanks to you for your ongoing support. You're a good man.
Oh, absolutely. And that's on the bottom. It's been on the bottom the whole time. So just type in those words, beernutsproductions.com. Go check out at least the three that Gough has mentioned, but you will find so much more there. All right. In that case, everybody out there listening, we'll see you next week, Gough. We'll see you next time you got a new project.
No worries. Thanks, Rob, and have a great night.
Out, they fell up!